I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us here on Closing Arguments. Big hour coming up, and we begin with a big story involving Sean Diddy Combs. Things not getting better for this superstar, billionaire, hip-hop mogul. As you know, his houses were raided by federal investigators, part of an ongoing sex trafficking investigation. That's all we know about that. We know they seized a lot of things. We saw some of the aftermath. We saw the folks who were executing these warrants in Los Angeles and in Miami. But it's also now involving his family, including his son, Christian King Combs. So it's about Diddy, but now things seem to be expanding to include his son, Christian King Combs. Lawsuit filed against Diddy's son. I'm going to go through some of it, but what is really striking is some of the crossover and similarity between this lawsuit and the lawsuit that was filed against Diddy by Lil Rod, filed against Diddy and Cuba Gooding Jr. So let's take a look at the lawsuit against Diddy's son. The makeup, and this involves allegations of something that happened on a rented yacht. The makeup of the yacht quickly evolved from just defendants Combs and his family to include a constant rotation of suspected sex workers and other A-list celebrities such as French Montana and actor Cuba Gooding Jr. Diddy turned what was sold as a wholesome family excursion into a hedonistic environment. Now, if you go back to that lawsuit filed by Lil Rod, Lil Rod had said that Diddy had sex workers and endless drugs flowing through the recording sessions at CRS, Mr. Combs' homes, and on the yacht, which Mr. Combs rented. And you may recall that photo of Cuba Gooding Jr. and Lil Rod. This is from the yacht. But the yacht is also connected to this new lawsuit against Diddy's son. Now, it continues. Plaintiff found it very suspicious that after one shot of De Leon tequila or one mixed drink, various women on the yacht would be falling over themselves, panicking or passing out. This led plaintiff, the plaintiff is the person suing, to reasonably believe that the alcohol given to these women was likely laced with drugs. In the lawsuit filed by Lil Rod, according to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs forced all women to drink laced De Leon liquor. Upon information and belief, Mr. Combs laced the liquor with ecstasy. So you can see, again, some of these similarities. Let's get back to that lawsuit. Upon entering the recording studio, defendant Combs immediately started ordering that tequila shots be poured. Plaintiff began to become concerned when he insisted that she take shots of tequila he may have brought on board the yacht. At this point, the mood changed and things became sinister. Defendant Combs insisted that the plaintiff stay chatting and that she sit beside him. Defendant Combs violently grabbed plaintiff's arm and began hurting her. He pulled plaintiff to the seat beside him and prevented her from getting up. The lawsuit includes photos of bruising. Let's take a look at those photos. Part of the lawsuit, part of the alleged evidence of what happened. Now, the lawsuit continues. Luckily for the plaintiff, due to defendant Combs' insistence on Mr. Jones recording everything, Mr. Jones has an audio recording of defendant Combs drugging and sexually assaulting the plaintiff. That's the allegation. Same thing in the lawsuit filed by Lil Rod. Mr. Combs required Mr. Jones to record him constantly on several occasions. Mr. Combs took Mr. Jones' cell phone and began recording himself. As a result, Mr. Jones has secured hundreds of hours of footage and audio recordings of Mr. Combs, his staff, his guests engaging in serious illegal activity. So these allegations involve conduct, but not just conduct that is allegedly recorded, which is why in these raids they're going after all of the hard drives and anywhere else you can find these types of images and recordings. Now, this is where it gets very specific about what happened. Plaintiff retreated to a corner of the room, and Chris Combs became physical and extremely aggressive. He cornered her and started to grope her. She pushed him back constantly. Chris Combs then took off all of his clothes, his private parts, and were in a certain state. And he grabbed her arms and was trying to force the plaintiff to perform oral sexual favors on him. Unfortunately, as the saying has it, the apple does not fall far from the tree. Chris Combs, during the raid was actually cuffed at Diddy's house. And we've heard from, there's the photo right there. So he was there, his dad wasn't there. He's the subject of this second lawsuit. Wow, lot to talk about here. So let's bring in our guests. Joining us in Los Angeles, California, entertainment reporter, host of Kinsey's LA Diaries on Talk TV, Kinsey Schofield is with us. And in Los Angeles, entertainment reporter for the Associated Press, Andrew Dalton, also with us. Great to have you both here. Kinsey, I'll begin with you. There's absolute crossover in these two civil lawsuits. These are not criminal allegations. They could be part of the criminal investigation, but civil allegations. And a lot of it has to do with what happened on this yacht.
Well, and I think we should also acknowledge, it's my understanding that Tyrone Blackburn is representing both this new accuser that's accusing Christian and Rodney Little Rod Jones. So did Rodney Little Rod Jones's $30 million lawsuit against Diddy instigate these latest allegations against his son? I think it's a fair assumption, because it's Rodney's video, that it's Rodney that can provide this alleged audio and video of the woman telling Christian to stop touching her. There's kissing noises that can be heard in the background. And Christian's team claims that this unredacted video and audio has not been provided to them. Again, the Combs team is really pushing both Diddy and his son that when it comes to Little Rod and when it comes to perhaps this new accuser, could the ultimate objective be a quick payday? They're saying that these are crazy allegations and that the reason that they are putting them out in such a public platform, the way they're doing it without either side being served yet, is just to get that payout, which we've seen Diddy do numerous times. He pays people just to go away. He says, I'm innocent, but he just wants to kill the story.
Andrew Dalton, and we've seen that many, many times. The reason I am so much more connected to covering this story is because of the raid, and now you've got this criminal investigation that is apparently taking place. The target, you would think, would likely be Diddy, since they're raiding his homes. How much of a connection do you believe there is here between these civil suits and allegations and the criminal investigation that resulted in the raids of Diddy's properties?
Yeah, I think the criminal investigation definitely raised the stakes for all of us who were covering this. I mean, it gave at least some validation, maybe not to the specifics, but to everything that was laid out in all these lawsuits that have been filed. The feds, for we at the AP, wouldn't confirm what the exact allegations were or say whether the lawsuits were involved. But Diddy's lawyer, Aaron Dyer, flat out said in his statement last week that this is, unfounded stuff from lawsuits that they're chasing. So that's a pretty, he's not going to know everything about the investigation, but that's a pretty strong indication that they are probably using these civil suits as guides.
Here's the thing that I don't understand, Kinsey, and the recording of everything. It seems from these civil allegations, they're saying crimes are being committed and Diddy is making sure that everything's being recorded. And that makes everyone think of, well, number one, that's not smart, but number two, it makes everyone think of, is there something else going on here? Like, why on earth would this stuff be recorded if it's criminal conduct? To me, this has a lot of heads spinning around. What's the buzz out in Hollywood on these types of allegations and the fact that everything seems to allegedly, right, be like recorded and documented by Diddy himself?
I mean, it's hard to even remotely fathom the fact that he would instigate this stuff being recorded to where it could come back and haunt him. And by all accounts, he had a good relationship with Rodney Jones prior to this lawsuit. They produced an award-winning album together. You know, the tone in Hollywood is to avoid Sean P. Diddy Combs right now. You even saw Kelly Ripa getting torn apart because they reran an episode of her show where she joked with one of her guests about needing to get an invite on the yacht. So, you know, the tone is very much shunning him. And, you know, it's not necessarily these days innocent until proven guilty. It's really guilty until you prove yourself innocent. And even Kanye, who has the worst reputation in the world right now, allegedly trying to avoid interacting with Sean P. Diddy Combs throughout these accusations.
And Andrew, how about Sean Diddy Combs? What's been his reaction to all of this? And is he keeping a low profile, or is he going to continue doing whatever he sort of does with all of his hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars?
Now, he and the people around him have been showing up in public a little bit more than you'd expect, more than the sort of the sort of hiding out that we've seen a lot from Harvey Weinstein and similar people in the Me Too era. So he hasn't exactly been coming forward and doing a whole lot, but he's definitely not hiding out either. Although he is kind of losing his stake, in this vast business empire that he has. He's had to step down from the TV network that he was a part of, and his Sean John, his clothing line, is being discontinued in some stores. So the visibility on that end has definitely gone down. One thing that I think is a strong indicator of his status is how many of these lawsuits people are coming forward under their own names, and instead of filing them anonymously, as we've seen so much in these cases. That's a real indication to me that these people are less afraid of retaliation and their willingness to come forward under their own names. And it means that he is definitely being seen as weak, as someone who can't do a whole lot for his status right now.
And Kinsey, we have to remind everyone, right? Like, Diddy, rich, powerful, but he was with everyone. The elite of all celebrities, like everybody, like you mentioned, Kelly Ripa wanting to get an invite onto the yacht. I don't know what she would have done on that yacht if any of these allegations are true, but I mean, he was an A-lister of A-listers, and people wanted to spend time with him and take pictures with him and be at his parties.
Oh, yeah, it's wild. I forget all the time that he dated Jennifer Lopez and elevated her and created such a superstar out of J-Lo. Absolutely, presidents wanted to be seen with him. He created bands. He had multiple reality television shows. He was what people thought was a kingmaker. He could make or break your career, and he had a reputation for being very disciplined and for having the magic touch. So it really is a fall from grace.
It's huge. Now, with Harvey Weinstein, this was a guy, Andrew, who was behind the scenes. Like, Hollywood insiders knew him, but members of the public probably wouldn't have recognized him before he became very infamous, right? You may recognize him now. I don't know. But this guy, Diddy, not only was he huge behind the scenes and in all of that, he was out front. He was there. He's like one of the faces of hip hop. I mean, it's hard to imagine that all of this could have potentially been happening and happening for years, almost without anything happening. Like, there's people chatting a little bit here and there, people talking, people smirking, but these allegations, these are very serious type of allegations that we are hearing now. And I'm still trying to comprehend how someone so visible could allegedly do this for years.
Yeah, he is always, in every brand that he's been a part of, every business he's been a part of, every artist he's been a part of, put himself out there. Back in the days of the Notorious B.I.G. videos, which were the first thing that made him famous, he was, the producer, but he was always dancing in the videos in a way that they kind of mocked on the West Coast out here when that sort of East Coast, West Coast rap battle was happening. But it is hard to fathom because we are in an era where, it feels like maybe people have been chastened enough to be careful. But this is some just really brazen public, or at least quasi-public stuff happening, and not that long ago. Some of the allegations, like in his protege Cassie's lawsuit, which was the first of them to come out, were several years ago. But this yacht incident was 2022, and things in the Rodney Jones lawsuit were from 2023. So this is going on till now, and it is just hard to fathom.
And Kinsey, have we heard anything about whether or not Cassie or Rodney are cooperating with the federal investigation, if they are working with investigators there?
It's my understanding that Cassie specifically is. I think that they both likely are. From what I believe the last I heard, it was 3 Jane Does and 1 John Doe that had been interviewed by New York prosecutors. But that is the last I heard. I have heard that Cassie is absolutely participating.
All right, Kinsey Schofield, Andrew Dalton, giving us great information and perspective from Tinseltown. Thank you so much. All right, how bad is this for Diddy and his family? When we come back, our think tank will let us know. Judge Gail Byers, Bernardo Villalona, Ben Chu standing by, ready to go.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan.
In every story, in every trial, every case, there's at least 2 sides to it.
To dive into the latest.
Oh my God.
And breaking true crime stories.
This was a very targeted, very personal attack.
Inside.
My whole life depends on it.
And outside of the courtroom.
She's a psychopath.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates. Saturday morning, 10/9 Central. Only on Court TV.
Oh, they already have a case, Vinny. The Southern District of New York doesn't execute multiple search warrants at the same time, get a federal judge to sign off on it unless they have a case. They're going to flip the drug mill, the alleged drug mill. They've already talked to the witnesses. And Vinny, I'm telling you, I might be in the East Coast now. This happened a mile or 2 from my house. Okay, that's how close I am to Diddy. My house isn't as big, but this was big news in LA. And I know Diddy's lawyer, Aaron Dyer. We used to work together. So, and Kirk nailed it. I mean, they're looking at sex trafficking, production of child pornography. These are mandatory minimum sentences, 10 or 15-year sentences. So, you know how the feds work. They already got those witnesses lined up, and I'm telling you, it's just a matter of days before an indictment is unsealed and Diddy and others are arrested, probably in a sweeping RICO indictment that names all these as predicate acts. He will be under indictment very soon, Vinny. I think they already have the evidence that they need. They're just trying to wrap it up nicely with that digital footprint.
That's former federal prosecutor Neiman Rahmani talking about the case against Diddy. Well, now there is a second civil lawsuit that has been filed. There have been other ones that have been settled, but there's the Rodney Smith, Little Rod, that was filed recently, and now another one filed in allegations against Diddy's son, Christian. Now, here's a statement from Christian and Diddy's attorney responding to this latest civil lawsuit. This is just another lewd and meritless claim from Tyrone Blackburn, just like what he filed in the Rodney Jones lawsuit, which he still has not served. This complaint is filled with the same kind of manufactured lies and irrelevant facts we've come to expect from Blackburn. This is exactly why the federal judge in New York slapped him 2 days ago for a pattern of behavior in improperly filing cases in federal court to garner media attention, embarrass defendants with salacious allegations, and pressure defendants to settle quickly, and why he was referred to the disciplinary committee in the Southern District of New York. We will be filing a motion to dismiss this outrageous claim. That's coming from Aaron Dyer, the attorney for Christian King Combs and Sean Diddy Combs. I get it. I generally, we don't do a lot on this program in covering civil lawsuits. What makes this different was the raid by federal investigators at 2 of Diddy's homes. That's why we're looking at this a lot more closely. Let's bring in our think tank tonight. Joining us in Cleveland, Ohio, retired judge, former prosecutor, judicial fellow at the National Judicial College, Judge Gail Byers. Also with us tonight in New York City, former senior homicide prosecutor, founder of Villalona Law, Bernarda Villalona, and in Washington, D.C., the attorney who represented Johnny Depp in his defamation case and fellow of the American College of Trial Lawyers, Ben Chu. Great to see everyone tonight. Thank you so much for being here. Judge, I'll begin with you. What do you think of this latest civil suit? Same lawyer, some of the same actions, but in the first suit, he's claiming that Rodney Jones has all of these videos and audio recordings, and they seem to be referenced in this second civil lawsuit.
So, Vinny, I think when it comes to cases like this, perhaps the first inclination is this is some, arm breaking on the part of the civil lawyer to get a quick settlement by throwing out some really outrageous or seemingly outrageous claims in order to perhaps expeditiously reach a resolution on behalf of his clients. But the fact of the matter is that it seems very apparent that even with Mr. Blackburn's 2 clients having very similar experiences, at least in and around Mr. Combs himself or his family, that what these civil lawsuits have provided is actually a form of a blueprint, if you will, for the feds to piggyback on and for them to utilize in order to buttress whatever federal claims or charges they may be seeking to file. I would be really, really concerned if I were Mr. Combs' defense team. And the reason is because there is an amount of just brazenness that seems to be at play here when you have digitized evidence that buttresses these claims, that gives the background to these claims that can easily be called upon. And that's just going to cause the bottom to fall out. And I don't care how much pounding on the podium you do, the facts are going to bear out. And this is going to be a civil resolution, but it's going to be followed by a criminal indictment more likely than not.
Bernard, do you think the feds have all of those recordings, those alleged recordings that Rodney Jones made?
Well, I think what the feds did is that they definitely call Little Rod's bluff, well, the attorney's bluff, because if you claim that you have all these recordings and you put that in a civil lawsuit, then what are the feds going to do? They're going to knock on your door with a subpoena or even ask you voluntarily to turn that over to them because they want to peruse those videos and those recordings to see if there's any criminal charges, whether a criminal investigation is likely. We know that happened because how do we know that happened? Because a search warrant was signed on based on that information. Because when you think about everything that's out there in the media, what causes or what probable cause exists for a judge to sign off on a search warrant? It has to have been what was alleged inside of that civil lawsuit. I'll tell you this, we have to be very cautious, of course, because everything's being played in a court of public opinion, but we have to make that distinguish of the civil lawsuit and the criminal case. The civil lawsuit, we know the burden's much less. Criminal case is proof beyond a reasonable doubt. I'm cautious about these 2 lawsuits because of who it's being filed from. Because we have that attorney, Tyrone Blackburn. We've already heard a lot of negative comments about him, not just from people in the media, people in the legal community, but you have a federal judge, Judge Denise Colt, who has referred him to the Federal Judiciary Committee, to the committee, the disciplinary committee, because of 5 of his lawsuits that he has filed and finding that there are huge insufficiencies and that this attorney has been using these civil lawsuits pretty much to milk the system. So I am cautious about that. I hope that he does have the videos and the audios to back up these claims if there is going to be anything that's going to come out of this in the civil lawsuit or in the criminal realm.
Ben Chu, how do you see the relationship, or the way this is going to play out, the criminal investigation and potential indictment and these civil lawsuits? How intertwined, how connected, or how disconnected could they be? And could one impact the other?
Well, to Bernardo's point, I think it's interesting that these civil cases have not been filed yet. I think that's telling. I think it takes away somewhat the seriousness of the civil suit and lends the idea that this is for publicity. The way they may interact is I suspect that Christopher's and Diddy's lawyers will seek a stay of the civil suits to the extent that they are sued, rather than moving to dismiss them, which I don't think that would be successful. It's very easy to plead these torts. I suspect that they will actually move to stay the civil cases pending the resolution of the criminal cases based on their right to plead the fifth. And that sometimes can resonate with civil judges. So these civil cases may be put on ice.
Yeah, and you point out the big difference between criminal and civil. If you're accused in a civil case, you still have to speak. In a criminal case, you can zip it up. The other side's got to prove everything.